I'll tell you who's next. Lee Chaix McDonough is our next guest on Fempreneur Coach Connection, and she's talking how to leverage the three M's to create a successful business and fulfilling life. So, spoiler alert, the three M's are meaning, mindset, and mindfulness. She's a CEO and founder of Coach with Clarity, a training and education company for life and business coaches. Her Coach with Clarity framework fuses meaning, mindset, and mindfulness with grounded intuition and solid business strategy to help coaches and clients excel at entrepreneurship and transform lives. She's the host of Coach with Clarity podcast, the author of a #1 Amazon bestseller, Act on Your Business, Braving the Storms of Entrepreneurship and Creating Success Through Meaning, Mindset, and Mindfulness. You'll love it as she brings practical and business changing advice for coaches today. I'm personally reeling from our last convo that we had on how she used events for her membership. Plus, you'll love her episodes that she's conducting on her coaching call. Check it out after you listen to this. Go to her podcast, listen to her episode about how to conduct a coaching call. I'm telling you, the great Lee Chaix McDonough is here with us on Next Live. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wanted something more? More in business, home life, relationship life? Say word if you agree. Word. In 2019, I created a business for coaches to market in this wacky way, virtual events. All with a 7-to-7 job. I'm a full-time nurse, by the way. And like you, there were just not enough hours in the day. My partner was feeling alone, and generally, this wasn't fun anymore. But then I realized I needed to build myself back up. Mind, body, soul, and even my business. So I created a show that does just that, interviewing all types of coaches, life, wellness, fertility, career, financial, wealth, and business. Join me on my journey with some of the best coaches who want to empower other coaches to live their best lives and build businesses that fulfill them. My name is Nicole Beatty, and this is Fempreneur Coach Connection. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you, Nicole. I am so excited to be here today.
I'm excited for you to be here because, quite frankly, you are the coach for coaches. And that's what you are. That's actually what she does.
Thank you.
But I'm excited because she knows so much about building successful businesses, but also for coaches, like how that works. She's created events. I mean, she's an all-around expert in many things and good at many things. So I'm excited to have you here and kind of pick your brain on many topics, quite frankly.
Yes. Oh, no. Let's dive right in.
Yes. So first off, okay, let's talk about your book because I didn't know you had a book, but I was like, she has a book. I got to buy it. I got to see what's going on there. Tell us about your book because that's an amazing accomplishment. A #1 Amazon bestseller. Like that's an amazing accomplishment. Tell us about that first.
Well, thank you. Yes. So my book is titled Act on Your Business, Braving the Storms of Entrepreneurship and Creating Success Through Meaning, Mindset, and Mindfulness. So those are the three M's. We'll be talking about those in a bit. But I wrote this book coming up on 3 years ago. I self-published it in February of 2019. And it's informed by my experience both as a coach, but also as a licensed clinical social worker. So before I went into coaching and coach training, I was a social worker, a therapist, and a public health professional trained in an approach called acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT for short. And that's the ACT in the title of the book. And while I found ACT to be an incredible approach for use in therapy, the concepts go far beyond the therapy room and can really be applied holistically to your life and certainly to your business. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to take the main concepts of ACT and show how we can apply them to entrepreneurship and small business. That's what I dive into in the book. And honestly, that really is the underpinning of all of the coaching and consulting work I do even today in my business.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I know that, your membership, how many people are in that membership now?
So it's kind of an interesting time for my membership because it used to be open all the time. It was an evergreen product. At the end of September 2020, I made the decision to close enrollment, and I've spent the last several months refining the membership, strengthening it, building it up so that when it reopens in 2022, it's just going to be the premier place for coaches who want to feel more confident in their business skills as well as their coaching approach. So right now, I want to say we've got about 50 people in there. And then I'm really looking to grow and expand intentionally this year so that we build our community. And rather than having it be always opened, there will be defined enrollment periods. So we'll have 3 or 4 times in 2022 where people can join the Coach with Clarity Collective. That's what we're calling it because that's what we are. We are a collective of intuitive, innovative coaches who want to change the world, one person, one coach at a time.
Ooh, I love it. I mean, it shows that over time your business definitely can evolve. Why'd you decide to kind of close enrollment? I mean, that's a good question for people in general who, are coaches and are like, well, I just want to open it all the time versus the open enrollment and closing it, that sort of thing.
I think there are benefits to both approaches, and certainly having the open enrollment for the first 2.5 years of the membership helped me establish a community, a foundation, everything that goes into the membership. But what I was finding personally is that to have a program that is always open requires a level of energy and intensity that I was finding quite exhausting, to be frank. And so for 2022, like this is my year to experiment. I'm doing a lot of different things in my business from that perspective of let's try it and see how it goes. And certainly I have some data to back up this hypothesis that I'm testing this year. But one of the things I'm testing is if I move to a defined enrollment period, what will that be like for me energetically? How will I be able to show up and support the launch? And then have this period where, okay, launch is done. Now I get to really dive in and serve within the collective. So part of it is to examine my own energetic patterns to see if that works. And it's also to see how it works for my audience. Part of me was wondering, are they feeling overwhelmed or burned out because I'm constantly talking about the membership or the collective? What if I just have very defined periods where I'm promoting it actively? Will that work better for their energy cycles as well? So this is a grand experiment and we'll see how it goes this year.
I'm so excited to see how it goes because quite frankly, you've done this before where you've had like, let's see how this goes. Let's see how it feels for me, for my audience. You've had that, with the virtual event, and everybody was like, oh my goodness, how'd you do that? And a lot of people came to you for how to do that. And you kind of actually became the blueprint for that. Like, who's done it? Who did it work for? Lee, go to Lee and get that information. But I think it's awesome that you're really listening to yourself, listening to your audience, and deciding, you know what, I don't have to do it the same way every time. I can switch it up. Let's see how my audience responds. So I'm totally down for that. I think that is an awesome way to approach enrollment for clients for sure.
Well, thank you. We'll see how it goes. I'm optimistic. I've got strong data to support this decision, but again, I approach everything in my business like an experiment. And even if it doesn't go as planned, even if my hypothesis is not proven right, everything that I experience is data and it will inform what I do the next time. And so from that perspective, there is no failing. There is no failed experiment. It's just, okay, how do we refine it from here? What variables do we need to change in order to have an outcome that better suits what we want to create?
Absolutely, absolutely. Quite frankly, we can talk about all sorts of things, Lee, but I want to make sure that we get to the topic at hand that we need to talk about here today. So when you're talking about meaning, mindset, and mindfulness in your business, like what are we talking about, and why should I even care about something like that?
Yes. So I view the 3 M's as being the fundamental pillars in your business for sure, really in your life in general, because everything we do, every decision we make, every action we take stems from these 3 M's. So when we understand what meaning is and how to create a business and a life anchored in meaning, when we pair that with mindset work so that our internal landscape matches our actions externally, and then finally, when we approach it from a mindful perspective, that's where we not only see success, but we experience contentment and fulfillment. Regardless of what happens, we know that we're taking steps that are fully aligned with who we are, who we want to be, and the mission that we're living out in the world. So those 3 M's for me are the basis of every strong, successful business. And certainly the ramifications extend outside business into our relationships, into our health, into our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's get into it. So, the first M that you talk about is how to anchor your work in meaning. How do we do that?
When I am talking about meaning, I am talking about those elements that give your life a sense of purpose. So, why are you here on this planet? What do you want to do with your one brave life? What matters most to you? What's your legacy? What do you want to be known for? These are the big principles around which we can build our lives. Now, when I was practicing as a therapist and doing a lot of ACT work with my clients, the word that I would use, and I still use today, are values. What are your values, or what do you value? And I know that that word has a lot of connotations. Some people hear the word value and they like immediately shut off. But again, when I'm talking about values, I'm asking you to connect deeply with the concepts that represent your best self. And your values, Nicole, may look very different than my values. You may hold things to be a priority that I don't, and vice versa. And that's okay. Because when it comes to values, there's no good or bad or right or wrong. It's a very personal exploration. And then once we understand what our values are, we can then use them as our guide when we're making decisions, when we're trying to figure out our next steps. And anytime we have to make a choice, when it's anchored in our values, we know that we're moving forward in a way that is aligned with how we want to show up in the world.
So, if we have certain values, how do we then apply it to our business? So, where do your values show up in those business decisions?
I like to think of values as a lens through which we view the world and our work. So, for example, if one of my core values is service, which it happens to be, and I suspect a lot of people watching and listening right now probably share that value. If we think about this lens of service and we look at our business through this lens, what does it look like to have a business anchored in service? How are you engaging with your potential clients? How are you engaging with your existing clients? How is the content that you're putting out reflecting that you place a high priority on service, on serving others, and hopefully serving yourself as well? So that becomes the barometer by which we can kind of test, all right, so when I make this choice in my business or when I take this step, does it reflect that I prioritize service in my business? And if it does, then you know you're on the right track. If it doesn't mean you're necessarily doing something wrong, but there may be a few other questions you want to ask yourself. Because oftentimes, most of us have more than one value. And sometimes we experience what I call a values clash, where we're holding two values and in the moment, they seem to oppose each other. The example that I experience most often in my life, and I suspect a lot of people do, are when we've got values around our business that clash with our values around relationships. So if I value service, for an example, I want to show up and I want to serve my clients and my members full out. I want to be present for them. I want to give them my all. And when I look at the value of service for family, I want to be there for my kids. I want to show up and support them at their basketball games. I want to be at their school assemblies where they're being rewarded in front of their peers. So even there, it's one value that shows up differently in different environments. And sometimes I can't do both. Sometimes for me to be present for my clients, it means saying no to my children or to my partner, or vice versa. To be present for my kids means I'm not on a call for a client. And so when we have those clashes, either because the values themselves are competing with each other or the way we express them are competing with each other, that can create some confusion. And so then it's about, what value do I want to lead with right now in this moment? And we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to the third M. But I think it's really important to remember that we're not static people. We change over time. And so when we're anchoring our choices and decisions and our values, we create space for that fluidity and to show up in the moment and prioritize what needs our attention right then and there.
And I'm sure you are going through that with your coaching clients. Like, how do we prioritize certain things in this business as opposed to personal, or if values do clash, you're talking about kind of how to make those work and what to choose at that point in time, or what's important at that point in time to choose from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we're going to go into mindset. Now, I'm just going to say this.
I
I'm
know where
not,
you're going with this.
look,
I know where
I
you're
mean,
going
look,
with this.
look. Okay. I'm a nurse. I'm not into the woo woo. I'm not saying mindfulness or mindset is woo woo. I'm not saying that, but it's not taught in nursing school. It's not something that, we see, here's the symptom. It's not, well, my mindset, I will get better. You know what I mean? It's not taught. So sometimes I have a hard time grasping. So if you see me kind of going, I need some more, just realize that I need a little more. And, maybe some other people are like me in the audience where they're like, I get mindset and I know it's a thing, but I'm having a little trouble completely understanding. And you're about to tell us what mindset really means and what many coaches get wrong. So I'm excited to hear what it really means because, I think I know what mindset is, but that science part of me, nursing part of me kind of goes, okay. So I'd love to know what you have rooted mindset to mean in your business. Let me see.
Yes. Yes. I love talking about this. This might be my hot take on mindset. We'll see. Because I think what I see a lot of, certainly in the coaching profession, but broadly as well, is that mindset has to do with how you think. And if you simply change how you think about things, then everything else is going to change too. This idea that, first you conceive the thought and then you make it so. And that can be a part of mindset work. Certainly, I don't mean to completely dismiss that. But when I'm talking about mindset, I am talking about a much broader concept. I'm talking about the way we relate to our internal experiences. So internal experiences do include thoughts. It also includes emotions, sensations, feelings, memories, anything that I am experiencing internally that you wouldn't necessarily know I am unless I told you. So, the way we relate to those internal experiences, for me, that falls under the umbrella of mindset. It certainly includes thought work, but it doesn't have to be limited to that. And in fact, in the book, I really break it up into two sections, one that does focus on the mind and our thoughts, but another one that focuses on our emotions and our feelings, and how we respond to those very much influences our mindset.
Okay. Let me go deeper.
Okay.
Let me go deeper. So when it comes to coaches, because in my mind, mindset is, again, just like you said, that surface, if I change my thoughts, things will change. How do coaches relate to mindset? How can we use that whole changing of the mind? How can we use that to our advantage and a better mindset? How do we go through that?
Well, I think there's a couple things we need to do. I'm going to start from the traditional thought perspective of mindset. Number
Okay.
one, it's very easy for people to fall into a binary when it comes to thinking. Either we
Yes.
have positive thoughts or negative thoughts. And I think on the whole, that's not a particularly helpful way to view it. We have thoughts, okay? And we will always have thoughts. The irony is that the more we want to not have a thought, the more we have it. And so simply saying we just need to change our thoughts, we need to change the way we're thinking, goes against that, because the fact is, the more we talk about what we don't want, the more we bring it into our consciousness, and there it is. So rather than fighting against thoughts or trying to get rid of them or trying to change them, it's more, how am I relating to this thought? How is it serving me? What happens a lot is that we combine our sense of identity and self-worth with a thought. The technical term is called fusion. We fuse the thought that we have with who we are or how we view ourselves. And so when we're fused to those thoughts, then all of a sudden every thought we have defines who we are and our worth. And that can be particularly problematic when we have unwanted thoughts. Those thoughts that say, I'm no good, no one's going to want to work with me. Who am I to do this kind of work? All of that imposter syndrome, fraud
Right.
stuff. Whew.
Right.
Well, we fuse to that. And we automatically believe that because our mind generates a thought, it must be true. And so
Mm.
now, instead of saying that's a bad thought, let's change it, it's more about recognizing, oh, I'm having this thought, I'm holding it pretty tightly, I'm fused with it. And then the technical term is diffusion. How do I pull myself apart from this thought so that I can have it without it defining who I am or how I want to show up in the world? So it's less about changing or getting rid of and more about bringing our awareness to it and then deciding, to what extent do I want this thought to inform my decisions, my actions, and how I feel about myself.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get I don't want to spend too much time here, but as you were saying that, I was like, as I'm going through this year and kind of focusing on, the word of the year and that sort of thing. My word is prosper. And prosper in many aspects of my life. So not just business, but in many aspects of my life. And one of the things that kind of came up is you won't be able to have enough clients to support something. And it was like, I'm having this thought. So now, as you said that, that's a thought. It's driving my decisions for future of what I'm doing. And as you said that, so you're literally telling me I recognize it, that this particular thing is not serving me in any kind of way. You're not saying change it, but you're saying detaching from that. Where do you put that? You just kind of say, this is a thought I'm having, or are you really trying to get rid of that thought?
I'm not actively trying to get rid of it. What I would suggest, though, is that on some level, that thought may, in fact, be serving you. Generally speaking, we have thoughts. Our mind is working to serve us. Our minds, I think, are wonderful at keeping us safe, keeping us
Mm.
stable. But sometimes they can kind of become overactive safety monitors. And so when we're constantly being barraged with this thought of, you're not going to have enough clients to make this, you're not going to be successful, you better do this and this and this, it's
Mhm.
because our mind is trying to protect us. It's trying to keep us safe. So when we are aware of that thought, we're also raising our awareness of why we're having the thought and what the purpose
Mm.
is behind it. So when we see that thought as a way for our minds to keep us safe and to have us make decisions that anchor us towards stability, we can say, okay, this makes sense. However, am I at a point in my business where I need to be prioritizing stability and doing things at all costs just to bring money in? Or am I at a point in my business where I can take a calculated risk that may initially feel a little unsafe to my mind, and yet I also know it's going to potentially open up opportunities for me that I might not have had I stayed small? So again, it's not fighting against the thought. If anything, it's recognizing the thought, recognizing its value, thanking our mind for wanting to keep us safe. And then from that position, deciding, how is this thought serving me? Is this a thought that I want to follow right now? Or is this a thought that I can release once I understand why it's there? And then I can re anchor myself in my values and make a decision about how I want to move forward, not driven from that thought, but driven from how I want to show up in the world.
So this is why, guys, for those who are listening, I have this particular show because I love putting my own self into it and getting great advice for how to do that. But that really was helpful for me and kind of how to go for it, because that's this nagging thing. You're literally saying, don't change it. No, it's there. Thank it, because it is protecting me in some way. Maybe my fears, not sure, but it is protecting me in some way. So I appreciate that. Let's keep going, because I'll sit here and get private coaching if I don't keep going. So the next, why mindfulness is more than meditation and why it's a critical component of success. I'm interested in this because I've heard about mindfulness again from that sciencey mind. I've heard about mindfulness. What really is it? I think is the first thing. I do equate it to meditation, but no, it's not the same. So what is your take on it?
So, when we're talking about mindfulness, we are simply talking about being in the present moment, fully aware, in a state of openness, curiosity, and non judgment. That is all mindfulness is. Now, meditation is one form of mindfulness practice. It's actually a very highly effective form. I practice it. I do find it very helpful. But I think somewhere along the line, we've conflated the two so that mindfulness equals meditation. And that's not true. There are all sorts of ways that we can practice mindfulness, but really it's about showing up fully engaged in the present moment, releasing any sort of judgment, and being fully connected to whatever it is that's going on within us and outside us. And mindfulness is so important because a lot of what we just talked about with regard to mindset requires being aware, being present. When we're noticing our thoughts, when we're noticing the impact that those thoughts are having on our sense of self-worth and on our decisions, well, we can do that when we're fully engaged in the moment, when we're present. And the other thing too is mindfulness connects with values, because when we are aware of our values and we're moving forward from that value aligned place, we're able to do so in a way where we're fully engaged, we're present, and we're connected. So all three of these M's, while we can talk about them separately, they really work in tandem with each other to create this holistic approach to achieving contentment in your business and in your life.
So when you say mindfulness, because I really do kind of equate it to meditation. You're saying it's a form of meditation. Are you sitting down like literally like for 2 minutes and saying these are the thoughts I'm having and I'm present? Or, walk me through that, because again, meditation, I'm still I'm still new there too. But what is mindfulness to you? It's moment by moment, it's a act that you do every morning, or what does that really mean?
I mean, ideally, I think mindfulness is a state of being, but when we're practicing it, that absolutely can look different ways. So if you are engaging in meditation, a mindful approach to meditation is not to get rid of thoughts. It's not like what we were talking about before. It's actually noticing when the thought comes up, acknowledging it, and then recentering yourself on whatever your anchor point is, whether it's your breath, whether it's a mantra. But the point is not to clear your mind. It's actually to notice the thoughts and then actively release them and return your attention to your focus. That return, that choosing to return, that catching yourself in the act and coming back to center, that is the heart of mindfulness practice, at least in meditation. Now, we can incorporate mindfulness in all other ways in our life. If you are having lunch and you are taking a mindful bite of whatever it is you're eating, and you're noticing the textures and the tastes and the whole sensory experience, that's a mindfulness practice. If you are with someone that you care deeply about, and you're just taking a moment to really bask in their presence and to notice all of the emotions and thoughts and sensations that are coming up just from being with that person in that moment, that is mindfulness. So it's really about how we are choosing to engage with all of what we bring, our thoughts, our feelings, all of it, and being fully present. And it's not, sometimes it's the good stuff. Sometimes it's, oh, this is amazing. And sometimes it's the, wow, this is really challenging. This is really hard. And I am here for it. And I am showing up because that's aligned with my values and how I want to be in this world.
Well, I mean, as you're saying that, it's just a little bit different how you're saying it, because quite frankly, I equated it to meditation. But how you're saying it right now, it's really more about that feeling of being prosperous this year, for me at least, interacting, building relationships with my family, making sure, having more meaningful moments and connection with family, friends, business people. Again, prosper is the word for me this year. That makes total sense. Just living life and enjoying it in the moment, but on a deeper level. Not just like, gee, that's a nice sunset, but really the warmth, the look of it, all those things fulfill you and fulfill your business and your life. So I get it now. And I feel like I feel like it's such a deliberate thing, or I thought it was such a deliberate thing. Like, I'm sitting down and I am 2 minutes a day. You know what I mean? But it's that whole act of self-love that, we've talked about on other episodes, of really giving that to yourself. So thank you for finally making that make sense. I really appreciate that.
I am so glad it resonated.
That was really good. Okay, guys. So, I want to make sure that we get to our next segment with living your best online business advice for online coaches after this brief break. So this segment is all about living your best online business life. And we ask for the best advice that Lee can give us on online business. So what is your best online business advice, Lee? I'm excited for you guys to hear this one.
Yes, I feel like this is very much in keeping with my theme for 2022 of experimenting and approaching everything as an experiment. So, my number one tip is to really embrace the beauty of the beta. So, I think a lot of times we entrepreneurs feel a lot of pressure to perfect our programs or our offer and to put it out there when we know it's exactly where it needs to be. And what I want to suggest actually is that waiting until it's perfect is a way that we block ourselves. And in fact, before we launch something massive, there is such power in trialing it through a beta program. So, for example, when I started the Coach with Clarity membership back in 2019, I started with a beta program. I invited a set number of people to be founding members, and 7 of them accepted. So, for 90 days, I ran a membership with 7 people, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. And yet, it was the perfect size because it allowed me to try things out, to establish my structure for the membership, to see how each session would work, to get direct feedback from my participants about what they liked, what they wanted more of, what they wanted less of. And so I gave myself that runway to perfect the program as I was running it with a small group of people. Since that time, I have done betas for almost every program I've done. I've certainly done it for my certification program. I'm doing it right now with a mastermind program. So the power of the beta is extraordinary because it gives you a testing ground for your ideas, and you're bringing revenue in because you are charging your participants, and you're allowing this to be a process by which you're refining and reforming if needed, so that when you launch it next time to your entire audience or to a larger group, you feel even more confident about what it is you're offering. So I highly, highly, highly recommend incorporating the beta into your launch plan, whether it's a one-on-one service, whether it's a group. Embrace the beauty of the beta.
So one of the things I know that some people are nervous about saying beta. Is that something that you are kind of like, who cares? By saying beta, it's okay. But some people are like, well, I want it the perfect thing, the perfect offer in front of them. I don't want them to think I don't know what I'm doing or it's not complete or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get over that fear when we're kind of bringing out? And it's a true beta, but we are like, I don't want to call it a beta. I want it to be perfect. How do we kind of get over that part?
We get over that by flipping the script. You do not have to call it a beta. And in fact, you probably don't want to call it a beta in your marketing. You know it's a beta program, but you're positioning it as a brand new, exciting offer that you're only extending an invitation to a limited number of people. So it's private, it's exclusive, and it's an opportunity for participants to be a part of its development because you will be soliciting their input and their feedback. So instead of positioning it as something like, oh, I'm trying this out and I don't know, so we'll see how it goes. No, we come at it from the place of, this is really exciting. I have this brand new program and I would love for you to be one of the founding people in it because I value you, I value your guidance, and I know that you can help me improve the program as it goes. So I would love to invite you to be a part of this inaugural round. That's it.
Y'all, I hope that you took all sorts of notes on what she said because that messaging was perfect. And I know she was going to give me that perfect messaging. That's why I asked the question. So I really hope that you guys were taking notes on that and using betas out there when you have that brand new offer to make sure that you're bringing in some revenue, but also that it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's get away from this perfectionism. It must be perfect in order for it to be out there. Otherwise, we're not getting paid. We have no money. We're not helping anybody because So anyway, I'm so excited that we talked about the VIP beta. Let's go into the Let's Connect segment. This segment is all about connecting, making connections with our guests and our audience. Lee, we want to know, who would you like to be connected with in our audience?
Yes. So there are really kind of 2 main connections that I am seeking today. Number one, certainly, if you identify as a coach of any stripe, but especially life coach, relationship coach, business coach, health coach, I would love to connect with you because you're my people. I am devoted to helping coaches feel more confident about their coaching skills and about their business development skills as well. That's what we focus on in the collective. And so, if you're a coach who wants that level of support and guidance and community, if you feel like you've got everything you need on the inside to be a powerful coach, because you do, but you're not quite sure how to put all the pieces together to create a profitable, prosperous business, then I would love to connect with you because you are the heart of my work. So that's number one. Number two, Nicole, as you mentioned at the top of the show, I host the Coach with Clarity podcast. And I am always looking for guests who are engaging, who have a clear point of view, and whose mission is to support coaches. So whether you are a marketing specialist, a web designer, a branding expert, a financial planner, if the work that you do supports coaches, I would love to connect with you and maybe even bring you on the Coach with Clarity podcast.
Y'all, come on, jump on that. That is so awesome that she essentially is saying, hey, apply to be a guest. You never know. You could absolutely be on that podcast. And if you haven't listened to Coach with Clarity, I want you guys to go over there on Spotify, iTunes, whatever the heck the name of the things is now, Apple, whatever it is. Go on it right now. Listen to it. I'm telling you, I listened to the last 2 episodes at the time of the taping, and I was like, wait a minute. Let me listen to that one more time and make sure she has show notes so you can go through the transcripts and see exactly what it is that she said. But she had one specifically I'm talking about, I want to say it's either 97 or 98, on conducting a coaching call. And I was like, hold on, or not a coaching call, excuse me. Conducting maybe it's a sales call. I don't think you call it a sales call though.
I call it, so a lot of people call it a consult call. I, in the episode 97, call it a connection call. So episode 97, it's our deep dive into how to structure a connection call.
Yes, y'all. I was like, whoa, this is really good. I really like that. I'm a service provider. I'm not really a coach, but it still made so much sense and it was easy, practical. I think it's about 30 minutes. Listen to the whole thing because it is chock full of goodness for you, especially if you're doing any sort of calls. And it's more rooted into how I feel. You were talking about we can go all in, but you were talking about how sometimes tactics that people give you to do, gurus give you, is a little bit too pushy. It doesn't feel good. It's not it's too salesy. And you were talking about how to navigate that and what that means. I loved it. So if you haven't listened to that episode, after listening to this, go and listen to that because I think it was a really good episode that anybody who does calls, connection calls, you may call them discovery calls, fit checks, whatever you call, I think it was a great episode. So
well, thank you so much. Yes, you can go to coachwithclarity.com/97. You can stream it right there. You can read the show notes, the transcript, or you can find episode 97 of the Coach with Clarity podcast anywhere you listen to your shows.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Where's some other places that we can find you?
So my home base is my website, coachwithclarity.com. That's where you can learn more about me. You can learn more about the Coach with Clarity Collective, my certification programs, certainly the podcast. And then if you'd like to engage with me one-on-one, come hit me up in my DMs over on Instagram. I am at Coach with Clarity.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and for doing this. Every time I call you and say, hey, I'd love for you to be on ... You're there. So I really appreciate you, Lee.
I am so happy to do it, Nicole. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And so I'd like to thank my guest today, Lee Chaix McDonough, for being on the show. We love if you are interested in being a guest on the show, go to fempreneuronline.com/guest to apply. If you're an online coach or you support coaches, we would love to have you on the show. And so at the end of every episode, we say, who's next? Okay. Cut. So we're back on. So yes, we are still live. This is behind the scenes, Oprah style, I guess, if you want to say. And hold on, I'm going to take her off mute. Sorry. So we're behind the scenes here. A couple things that we do after the show to kind of get the show fully up and working as a podcast. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to do it live. We just got to capture the audio and all those things on StreamYard if you ever use it. So yes, it is cool. You just said that. It is cool. We'll just do the 3. We'll just do the 3 is what we'll do. Okay. So I'm going to bring myself off. I'm going to mute myself. And you do your thing as soon as I mute myself. Okay.
Got it.
No, wrong one. There.
Hey, I'm Lee Chaix McDonough, and you're listening to the Oh, let's try that one again. Okay. Sip of water first. Okay. Hey, I'm Lee Chaix McDonough, and you're listening to the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Lee Chaix McDonough, and you're watching the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Lee Chaix McDonough, and we're talking about how to leverage the 3 M's to create a successful business and a fulfilling life, only on the Fempreneur Coach Connection.
Yay! Okay,
That
guys.
wasn't too bad. Little false start.
That wasn't too bad. It's fine. You know, people get that Fempreneur. It's always flubbed. It's okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So thanks, guys, for watching. I'm gonna end the live. Bye.